Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People story. My family has lived in this old Victorian-style house for over 100 years. It was passed down from my great-great-grandparents who built it themselves in the late 1800s. The beautiful woodwork, detailed trim, and ornate touches make it truly one of a kind. I've grown up here and have countless childhood memories running through the creaky hallways and secret compartments. This house is more than just bricks and boards to me. It's a living piece of my family's history. So you can imagine my shock when I returned home one day to find a bulldozer sitting in my driveway. Before I could even process what was happening, the bulldozer lurched forward and took a massive chunk out of the side of my house. I was horrified and ran towards the demolition crew, yelling for them to stop. That's when the head of our neighborhood homeowner association, Janet, marched over looking pleased as punch. She informed me that my house was being demolished, since Victorian architecture is considered an eyesore and against homeowner association regulations. I was flabbergasted and argued that my family's house has been here for generations, long before any homeowner association regulations existed. But Janet didn't care. She just kept repeating that my ugly, outdated house had to go to improve the neighborhood's aesthetics. I pointed out that I wasn't even part of the homeowner association since my property preceded its formation. Janet shrugged and said, as homeowner association president, she had supreme authority over all houses in the subdivision. I was fuming with anger but tried to keep my cool. Yelling wasn't going to stop the destruction underway, so I called the police and frantically explained the situation, urging them to come quickly before my house was reduced to a pile of timber. As I waited for the police, I helplessly watched the demolition crew continue tearing down sections of the house I loved. When the police arrived, I showed them documentation proving my house was built decades before the homeowner association existed. The officers tried reasoning with Janet, pointing out the house was not under her jurisdiction. But Janet was relentless, insisting her homeowner association bylaws superseded local property records. While the police reviewed the paperwork, Janet ordered the demolition crew to keep working. Whole wings of the house were now gone, leaving gaping holes and exposed walls. I broke down in tears, seeing generations of my family's legacy destroyed before my eyes. Finally, the police had enough evidence to order the demolition crew to stop their work. They informed Janet that if she continued the unauthorized destruction, she would be arrested. Janet was forced to stop the demolition, but not before significant portions of the house had been leveled. Over the next few weeks, I battled the homeowner association in court to seek justice. My lawyer argued that Janet criminally trespassed and vandalized my private property that she had zero authority over. We presented documents clearly delineating my property's boundaries and proving it was never part of the homeowner association. Janet's defense tried arguing that as homeowner association president, she had sweeping powers to alter neighborhood aesthetics as she saw fit. They claimed she was well within her rights to demolish my ugly Victorian house, which was ruining the subdivision's ambiance. Thankfully, the judge saw right through her ludicrous arguments. He ruled in my favor, declaring Janet had grossly overstepped her role by demolishing my house without permission or legal standing. She was found guilty of criminal property damage and forced to pay heavy restitution fees. The homeowner association board quickly removed Janet from her position and issued a public apology for her rogue actions. With the settlement money, I was able to hire a construction company to rebuild sections of my beloved house that Janet had destroyed. It took months of hard work, but gradually the house began taking shape again. Extra care was taken to painstakingly restore the intricate Victorian details that I adored. Though scars from the partial demolition remained, seeing the house brought back to its former glory filled me with joy. I'll never forget the day I received a letter from the new homeowner association president extending a warm welcome. They wanted to build trust after Janet's disastrous tenure. I declined their invitation, having learned my lesson. My family built this wonderful house, and it's my privilege to protect it for future generations. As long as I'm here, no homeowner association president will ever demolish my history again. The next one is a pro-revenge story. A little backstory first. My older brother adopted me when I was 14. I lived with him, his wife, and her 2 children. One a couple months older than me, the other a year older. I have never gotten along with the younger one. His mother and father went through a divorce, and both parents spoiled the hell out of him. His father owned several businesses making around $1 million a year, so he's your typical entitled douchebag, who has always clashed with me. someone who grew up poor. This is the type of dude that kicked a dog we all raised from a 4-week-old puppy because she was excited to see him after not seeing him for 6 months and she was jumping around. He's the type of dude that has ruined Thanksgiving because the milk was 2% instead of 1% by screaming, yelling, and cussing everyone out at the age of 29. Now on to the story. I was on a phone plan with his mother, but I lost my job, unable to pay the last $60 I owe her. But we had worked it out that I would pay her back on Thanksgiving by installing a stereo my brother's, her husband's, new pickup. A little over a week ago, I was picking up Fallout 4 for a friend who was at work at the GameStop in the local mall. Nephew works across the little walkway and saw me walk in from outside where he was walking into work. While I'm in line, he comes in, cuts in front of everyone, and cusses me out, saying I shouldn't be buying games when I owe his mom money. I told him he needed to back the hell off and not talk about crap he knew nothing about. He kept going on and on, running his mouth. I got my friend's game and walked out with him, following me out the door. When I got to the door, he stopped ranting and went back to work with a smug look on his face. I lived with this guy for years, so I know him very well. When I hopped in my car, I realized he had parked in front of me and my dash cam was on. He sells weed out of his truck to subsidize his low wages at the mall, and I remembered that he always showed up to work early to sew. I rewound my dash cam, and sure enough, you could clearly see him sell weed. I sent an email with the video of him selling the weed to the management of the mall from a new email address as a concerned citizen. 3 days later, while talking to my brother, he told me that my nephew got fired from his job and banned from the mall property. My response, that sucks. Enjoy not getting that unemployment check-a-hole? The next one is a petty revenge story. So one day at a gas station, this guy comes up to me looking all sorry for himself. He's like, "Hey, can you spare 10 euros? I need to put gas in my car to visit my dying mother." He even gives me his number, swearing up and down he'll pay me back. Now, I might be naive, but I wasn't born yesterday. I knew the chances of seeing that Euro 10 again were slim to none. But hey, what if his story was true? I couldn't be the reason someone didn't get to say goodbye to their mom. So, I lent him the cash. I get home, and surprise, surprise, radio silence from Mr. Gas Money. A few days later, I reach out, and he's all, "Oh, I totally forgot, I'll pay you back." Yeah, right. After a few rounds of this, it's obvious I'm not getting my money back, and eventually he ghosts me. But I'm patient. I wait a few weeks and then spring into action. I hit up all the popular secondhand selling websites and start posting ads. I'm talking hot ticket items, cars, iPhones, GPUs, back when they cost an arm and a leg, cozy houses, job offers, all priced to sell but still believable. For the contact info, I used his number and threw in a name with a cheesy pun. Think owing money. Get it? Owing money. Ha! 2 days later, I call him from my girlfriend's phone. I can't even get a word out before he starts yelling at me to leave him alone. Looks like my plan worked. Some of the ads even stayed up for months. The only bummer, besides losing that 10 euros, was getting my main account banned on one of the sites. Probably got flagged for using the same IP as my little sting operation. But hey, a small price to pay for a taste of petty revenge. The next one is a malicious compliance story. My first post here. First, I would like to thank you all for the amazing environment. I've been back to Reddit because of this place and reading up on all the posts I can. I love that you all have a kink for justice as big as a kink for storytelling. My story begins working for a financial institution, heaps of overworking and abuse, and we were contractors from a company in Brazil. We worked 12 plus hours daily easily as we had to deploy stuff at midnight as it was a critical app. I was online all the time. I took all the heavy fire from the client who dealt directly with me. I had a manager who did nothing and despised me because the team loved me. She didn't know the teammates' names and things like this. We were the only team to have a planned on-duty schedule set up the month before, and everyone relied on us, client side and contractor company side. I was the only one the client had the cell phone, and they never complained. This mangle woman loved to give everyone's phones to the client so he could call devs non-stop, Saturdays, Sundays, moon, or sun on the sky. I've put my foot down for the first time with this. The second time she tried to send a 2-month girl intern to work with all males from another contractor company. You could imagine how workplace abuse would be dealt with, alone. Now I know there are a lot of amazing people in the world, but I wouldn't put my hand in the fire for the tech community, sorry. This was the second time I've put my foot down. We had an altercation in a call with the client because I directly said the intern's productivity would plummet, having to work with a strange team and under rules that are not our company's, and this could even lead to a lawsuit. She was pissed. We hung up. She calls me alone 0.2 seconds later and scolds me, asking how do I think questioning her would be perceived. Now, I'm a scrum master. The only thing I do is conduct meetings and defuse bombs. So I thought she could use the neuron I freely gave her with my explanation. And I answered, hushing these serious decisions in front of the client, said more about her incompetence than to discuss with me in front of him. I think I heard a vein pop on her head. She hung up. Now it gets good. Thanks for reading my introduction. 30 minutes pass, and I receive an email stating I was on HR watch for misconduct and insubordination. I was required to take one mentoring session weekly during 1 month, filling up an Excel through the week with everything I did and recounting on these sessions to see where I could improve. The thing is, she saw the dumpster fire the project was and just got accepted to switch project client, so she was going away next week or so, and my new manager would be a flower of a person who had nothing to do with this crap. I called HR and told them I would like to request her as my personal mentor, as she was the one who pointed out so many improvement feedbacks to better my performance, and was an example for me of what not to do, but I left this part out. They thought this was an amazing idea. The sessions had her and the HR worker responsible for the case, so she had to put on a mentoring face, and lo and behold, I turn into Casper Hauser during those sessions. I asked everything. I would fill the Excel to the brim with everything I did, including emails, chat convos, and even screen grabs from my personal phone the client used to message and requested to go through them so she could approve my company speech. I would link Excel files inside this Excel file, so she had absolutely everything I did, one per row. Those sessions took 2 to 3 hours every Friday, scheduled at 8 a.m. by me, as she would be sure to complain when the team worked until 2 a.m., and I would let them come in late. She would have to rate everything in a drop-down cell, write the week's outcome, and come up with action points for next week. I couldn't help her with this as I was there to learn. In the last meeting, I requested her manager to be on the meeting, a woman who filled my manager gaps when I needed most, and we had an amazing relationship. She agreed as in her view this was a successful mentoring case from her employer. I finished the meeting, asked for 2 minutes at the end, and forwarded my 2 weeks, here in Brazil it's 4, written by hand, with all the points that made me quit and receipts, including a part of the fight in front of the client I was able to record with my phone when I saw things going south. I still think about her, so this is the sad thing, but I now have an amazing job at a big tech company and vowed to never be like her. The next one is an entitled people story. My friend, let's call her D, and I are planning a big trip for herself. She announced it last summer, about 6-7 months ago, and has this great master plan that includes me, female. D is the kind of person who believes that everybody is just as excited as she is about her hobbies and plans. She will be gone for about a month on the other side of the earth. Her master plan is to do me a favor and let me stay at her apartment and look after her cat. D did suggest it 6 months ago, but I never agreed. I didn't know where I would be in my personal life or work in a year, so cat sitting for a month in a hot apartment in July isn't something that is on top of my list. D has a boyfriend, DB, who is also a good friend of mine. He is allergic to the cat, so they don't live together. He can still visit her and the cat. At Christmas, we met up again. I'm staying some days at DB's because my mom doesn't have room for everyone at her apartment, and I didn't want to sleep on the couch for a week. The next part of the story is over several days and not word for word. D is still in big planning mode for her big trip and new hobby, about $145 a month hobby, aka nothing is settled, like booking plane tickets or arranging for the cat. I'm happy, don't drink, and announce that I'm only a few weeks away from being 150% human, aka pregnant. Everybody is excited and happy. D is over the moon and a little too much, but that is another story. DB is happy, and everyone is joking about it in a good way. In a game together with some of D and DB's other friends, the trip comes up again. The big issue is still the cat. D hasn't found just one person to look after the cat, and it's becoming a big puzzle mess involving several of her friends. D again suggests that she will do me the favor of letting me borrow her apartment. I am planning to move back to that city. I tried to be discreet and say my due date is in the beginning of June. Being a solo mom for the first time doesn't fit with being in another person's apartment. D. Oh, but you know my cat. It's sweet and actually doesn't like being near babies. The cat doesn't attack, just stays at a distance. DB is on my side. That a baby is a big change and isn't durable. D. Don't worry, I can get my other friend to help with the litter box because of diseases in the poop. I'm pretty annoyed at this point. I can't just move in somewhere with a newborn for a month. Sure, I can stay a weekend and don't need perfect sleeping and changing arrangements for my baby, but not for a month. The cat is sweet and likes me, but after a month, it's possible that the cat won't keep its distance from my newborn. And the fact that a stranger just comes to check the litter box is also over my boundaries. I've met him before, but only a couple of times. Will still try to sell me her master plan, so I need to make my point clear, and I spoke my mind in a firm tone. Stop it. Don't make it sound like you are doing me a favor when it's really me who would be doing you a big favor. I can't look after your cat and can't even promise to only stay a couple of days because I will have a child. D got annoyed herself. Then I will just take the cat to the vet. DB. Don't emotionally blackmail her. Me looking D straight in the eyes. If you need it, I can drive you to the vet. A little softer. What about a cat pension? Another friend at the table is looking up prices and giving an estimate. D. The cat wouldn't like it. It's expensive, and maybe I will just take the cat with me on the trip. I know there are cat-friendly hotels. DB. Don't be dramatic. Maybe cat litter friend can have the cat in his apartment. D. I don't want the cat back smelling of cigarette smoke. Cat has been washed before. DB. Maybe other friends can have the cat if you pay them. All in all, we found another subject to speak about when D sat very grumpy at the table. In the evening, DB and I spoke through it all again because D wants DB to babysit the cat some days and come and join her for 2 weeks. DB has tried to say that he can't just travel across the world because of his job, and the fact that it's D's big trip and DB would just follow along. I'm still thinking about it, and it just gets me so angry. D and I have almost not seen each other in 4 years. I moved because of studies, and she never texts or calls me. I can't understand that D, as a very grown-ass woman, never has money at the end of the month. She is putting money aside for egg travels, and thinks that friends would just like to cat sit for free for a month. If D can't afford professional cat sitting, she can stop her expensive hobby or postpone the trip for some months. I do love cats, and miss my own that died about 2 years ago. I had her for half of my life. D's cat is also sweet, but I don't give a care when D tries to guilt trip me. I also know that D wouldn't put the cat down when he is happy and healthy. If I were just pregnant, maybe I would consider it, but the baby is due in July. I will not put her cat before my newborn. The next one is an entitled parent story. This is a story about my own wedding and how an entitled mom nearly turned it into her personal circus. For some background, my fiancé, now husband, and I planned our wedding for over a year. We wanted something small yet elegant, with close family and friends. My husband's family is pretty down to earth, except for his aunt, entitled Mom, known for her over-the-top behavior and entitlement. Everything was going smoothly until the week before the wedding. Entitled Mom called and demanded that we include her 6-year-old daughter, my husband's cousin, as a flower girl. We already had 2 flower girls, my nieces, who were thrilled about it. I politely declined, explaining that arrangements were already made. Entitled Mom didn't take this well. She started a tirade about how her daughter was being excluded unfairly and how we were ruining her child's self-esteem. I tried to stay calm, but she was relentless. I had thought that was the end of it, but oh, was I wrong. On our wedding day, Entitled Mom showed up with her daughter dressed in a full-blown, white, frilly flower girl dress. She marched up to me, demanding that her daughter be included in the ceremony. I was flabbergasted. My husband and I, along with our wedding planner, tried to reason with her, but she caused a huge scene, saying things like, "How could you be so selfish on your wedding day?" and "You're destroying a little girl's dream." My usually quiet mother-in-law had had enough. She stepped in and told Entitled Mom in no uncertain terms that this was our day, not hers or her daughter's. She said that if Entitled Mom couldn't respect our wishes, they would have to leave. Entitled Mom was shocked. She tried to argue, but other family members, who were equally fed up with her antics, supported my mother-in-law's stance. Realizing she was outnumbered, Entitled Mom left in a huff, her daughter in tow. The rest of the wedding went off without a hitch, and everyone had a great time. We heard through the grapevine that Entitled Mom complained about us to anyone who would listen, but most of the family knew her history and took it with a grain of salt. I'm grateful for my amazing in-laws who stood up for us, boosting my confidence in our marriage's success even more. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.